With you guys today, DiJonai Carrington. After clotheslining Sophie Cunningham, running into the locker room, screaming, "That's white privilege!" Then tweeting 8/23, threatening Sophie Cunningham and the Indiana Fever, DiJonai Carrington now comes out and clarifies what she means when she says white privilege for the Indiana Fever.
So with 2 minutes left in the first quarter, DiJonai Carrington just slapped the dog shit out of Sophie Cunningham. Sophie pops up. She's obviously upset. DiJonai says, "Try me." And then look at Stephanie White. Look at her face. Look. She's mad as shit. Now, number one, this is obviously a flagrant 2. It just is. By the letter of the law, you got to call a flagrant 2. We all know these reps are not.
That girl needs to be thrown out the league. She's not even a good enough player to be bringing this type of drama. She needs to be thrown.
Today's story has triggered a new wave of reactions across the WNBA, with a major Reebok deal putting Sophie Cunningham firmly in the spotlight and leaving fans asking how DiJonai Carrington is responding. Did Sophie actually take Carrington's place? And why has this deal caused so much discussion? Stay with me until the end as we take a closer look at the story, the reactions, and what this could mean moving forward. Let's get right into it. This season, DiJonai Carrington could be losing the one thing that had truly been working in her favor. And from the way things are unfolding, she may be entirely responsible for how quickly that advantage is slipping away. This is not some quiet or gradual decline, either. It is the kind of breakdown happening right in front of cameras and millions of people watching their phones as events unfold in real time. And it all goes back to a few decisions she made during a single week on the bench. If you enjoy this content, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 90% of viewers still haven't subscribed. It's free, takes only a second, and your support means so much to us. Have you subscribed already? Wonderful. Thank you very much for supporting us. Now, let's get back to the video.
Sophie Cunningham, otherwise known as MAGA Barbie in the WNBA, is a superstar player. She's one of the most famous female athletes in the world because she stood up for women in women's sports, saying only biological women should be allowed to play in the WNBA. And for that, she is literally risking her life. Check this out. This is what happened to Sophie Cunningham last night when she was clotheslined by a filthy, dirty player for Chicago who has a name that I can't pronounce, or maybe I just refuse to do that. That's my right as an American. But this is a player that has attacked Caitlin Clark, gouged her eye out, that has now bloodied the face of Sophie Cunningham. And as soon as she did this, she tweeted white privilege, meaning she's declaring this is a race crime. Now, if a white woman was doing this to black women, it'd be the #1 story in the world. She'd be banned from the league forever. But somehow black women are allowed to get away with this against white women. And it's white women in the league who make themselves a target by simply standing up for traditional values and
Rumor has it that Reebok is quietly considering ending its relationship with Carrington. What makes the situation even more surprising is the name reportedly being discussed as her replacement on the list of approved athletes. It is not some unknown rookie. Sophie Cunningham is the name being mentioned. Yes, that's Sophie Cunningham, the same player Carrington has been fouling repeatedly, as if she owes her money, throughout the past week. Just a few months ago, nobody would have expected these two names to become connected in a story about a shoe deal. So, if the report is true, this could be one of the most unexpected changes in sports marketing this year, especially considering that these two players are on opposite sides of a dispute that is now putting one of their careers at financial risk.
Goo! That's assault, brother. You can't do that. What the fuck? Is this just the default if you can't think? Or if you just like don't want to take accountability for your actions? Oh my god, this league, bro, this league. Bro, white privilege while you're wearing a bleach blonde dyed wig. I mean, the fuck? What is privileged about that? You stone cold Steve Austin clotheslined her ass. What about that is white privilege? The WNBA stays undefeated. It truly does. They can't get out of their own way.
This is how we reached this moment. Carrington was signed by Reebok with the expectation that she would represent their basketball line. They wanted someone with personality, someone fans would feel connected to and want to support both on and off the court. That is the basic idea behind an endorsement deal. A brand is not simply paying for your jump shot or your performance on the court. They are also paying for the emotional connection you create with consumers when they see your name on a store box or in an advertisement that appears before their favorite video. And lately, DJ Carrington hasn't done much to create that positive feeling. At the same time, brands are usually much quicker to notice this kind of change than most fans realize.
Beyond concerning at this point how far from the plot we have actually gotten. And when I say the plot, I mean the basketball. How far from the game of basketball we have spiraled. When we're talking about the WNBA, you know, we used to joke, it's like, oh, 0 days without drama in the WNBA. This league is living up to it at a rate and a level of concern that we haven't ever had with all the discussion
that's going on in the WNBA. DiJonai Carrington tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game that she was playing in. Get this, she fouled Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white person, fouls her hard. Flagrant 2, gets ejected, goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DiJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was not it. What the hell do y'all...
Carrington was hit with 3 different fouls in a single week, leaving viewers replaying the video just to confirm they had actually seen it correctly the first time. This was not a hustling foul. It was not the kind of normal contact you might expect between 2 rivals competing for a place in a real league. These were the types of plays that made commentators stop for a second, searching for the right words before speaking on television. And somehow, every one of those moments involved Sophie Cunningham, which is exactly why the pattern became harder to dismiss as a simple coincidence after happening 3 times in such a short period.
Right across the face, coming down, trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant 2, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant 2. There is
get what you fucking deserve.
And just getting her out of the
Lucky
way.
it wasn't a right hook.
Make no mistake about it. Carrington targeted Cunningham. She targeted her because of her political stances. She targeted Cunningham because of the praises that she keeps receiving. She targeted her with a dirty shot that had absolutely nothing to do with basketball. And then after getting ejected, she runs to the locker room to play the fucking victim card. Like she didn't try to just take off Cunningham's head in 4K. Like we all didn't just watch it happen. That is not competition. That is a grown woman swinging on someone who she disagrees with and then screaming racism when she gets held accountable for it. DiJonai Carrington needs to be held responsible, and I'm not talking about just getting ejected from the game. She deserves a suspension. Maybe she'll think twice next time before she tries to take somebody's...
Look, physical basketball is certainly nothing new. Toughness has always been part of what makes this league so compelling to watch. And nobody is asking players to back down or play soft out there. However, there is a clear difference between being tough and being reckless. And many viewers who watched these clips felt that Carrington crossed that line several times within just a few days. Sleeping on that night doesn't make it a single terrible night. It's a pattern. And when a brand's marketing staff decides who gets to keep wearing the logo on national television, they pay very close attention to patterns.
Like the way Sophie Cunningham came down on her leg, she could have been injured. So they said, yo, get out of here, dog. Get out of here. Then, I don't know if y'all was looking at her lips. She was talking about, try me. Yo, you already tried Sophie? You got all the samples of Sophie. You talking about try me. What are you talking about? This lady is unhinged right now, man. This is crazy work. And it makes you wonder. It's like, dog, you were the best player for the Sky at this moment. Look how she landed on the leg. Oh, my goodness. Like, you were the best player for the Sky. And you decided to do this? You weren't even thinking about the game. You was thinking about some kind of revenge or something. Somebody sent you on a mission. You were on a mission, dog. I don't know what you had going on here, but DiJonai, this is unacceptable. Disrespectful, disgusting, and I'm glad they got you up out of it.
Then came the interview that pushed the basketball story far beyond the boundaries of sport. Carrington did not exactly calm the situation in the way most players in her position might have after being called out for the contact. While discussing Cunningham, she brought up the term white privilege instead of simply accepting responsibility for the play and moving forward. That turned a discussion about a physical foul into a much broader conversation about intent, motive, and everything else connected to a phrase that carries real weight when spoken aloud in front of reporters. One thing is clear, whether you believe the remark was reasonable or had anything to do with what actually happened on the floor overnight, it changed the entire tone of the story, and not in a way that would strengthen her position in front of onlookers.
A photo from the flagrant 2 on DiJonai Carrington against Sophie Cunningham, where she proceeded to go into the locker room and tweet white privilege after being thrown out of the game. I'm not going to comment on that situation, but I will say this. This is a flagrant 2. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, don't matter. This is a flagrant. I mean, she clotheslined her. What more do you want? So this looks very bad. It just shows that the WNBA is nowhere near where they need to be professionally, because again, this is a clothesline. It's flagrant.
Furthermore, Cunningham has not really responded with retaliation in any form. At least, not through her words. Instead, she has mostly kept playing, continued showing up, and allowed her performance to make the statement for her. She has already faced plenty of noise this season and handled it in much the same way. Because of that contrast, many people online have been asking why one player is presented as the tough one, while the other receives praise for staying composed, even though she is the one repeatedly taking the hits. In reality, the image is pretty simple. One player takes the hit and stays quiet. The other delivers the hit and then becomes loud about it. Fans are hardly the first people to notice which of those images looks better on camera. Brands notice even faster. And social media certainly did not stay quiet about any of this. Reebok still has DJI Carrington on an endorsement deal after she cheap shots Sophie Cunningham and screams white privilege, was one tweet that spread widely. That person isn't an athlete. It is a liability. It was hardly a soft opinion. Drop her or America drops you. That was someone taking a firm position and directly challenging the brand to choose a side. And judging by the replies underneath, plenty of people agreed with every word. Quote tweets started piling up, with people sharing their own receipts from earlier games, bringing back old videos, and posting screenshots of past comments. All of those examples were then pulled together into a much bigger argument against her continuing to remain on the brand's roster at all.
Mention the fact that she said white privilege. That is the story. The story isn't that she got kicked out. It's that she tweeted out white privilege as though because Sophie Cunningham is white, somehow that's why she got kicked out. They go on to defend her, the story, the narrative that she's not a dirty player. She makes plays like this all the time. I put together a little clip of DiJonai Carrington, who is definitely one of the dirtiest players in the WNBA. I don't know if we can roll it, but she's taken her long fingernails. She's scratched Caitlin Clark's eyes out. She's had multiple instances of chasing people down from behind, trying the same swat and smashing them in the head and causing mini fights. She pulled another girl's hair. I don't know if we'll get to that clip in a second when she's falling. Totally dirty play. This is not a skin color thing. She has a history of making dirty plays, and it's fine. The NBA, you can be a rough and tumble league. Now, where this thing gets absolutely bananas is when you start making it into a race and culture war, and the people talking about it are not mentioning 99% of the time that she went back and tweeted white privilege. White privilege how?
That's the kind of headline companies never want connected to their brand, especially when consumers publicly say they will stop buying Reebok products as long as Carrington remains among its endorsed athletes. Harder than explaining a bad foul on a highlight show the following morning.
We are paying attention to what DiJonai Carrington did to Sophie Cunningham. It was not a race-based decision. And to call that a white privilege-based foul is to completely undermine the term of white privilege and to also completely ignore the rules in basketball. You hit her in the head, you drew blood, you didn't connect with the ball at all whatsoever. So to me, it was just very ignorant and to some degree asinine by DiJonai Carrington to suggest that that call was based on white privilege. Have we seen examples of white players make that same foul and get away with it? Yes. Have we seen examples of black players make that same foul and get away with it? Yes. There was no white privilege involved in that specific call. DiJonai, you hit her in the head and you drew blood.
Carrington tried to partially take back what had been said. A statement was released, along with some calmer comments to the media, in an attempt to allow the next strong performance to speak on its own. But because this came after 3 fouls and 1 offensive experience, once a pattern is already visible in slow-motion footage being circulated everywhere across the media, one apology cannot fully fix 3 separate incidents that happened one after another during the very same week.
You can't act as though you discovered the moon. You can't act as though you are the genius in a room and everybody else is idiotic. What I mean by that is, if you are going to suggest that we should think critically about a statement, white privilege, when you at the Indiana Fever, you didn't give us much to think critically about. You uttered a phrase, white privilege, of which is both incredibly inflammatory and also a very volatile word, but you didn't give us any context. So now we, as the interpreter, since you posted it publicly on Threads for the world to see, we, the interpreter, now have to try to figure out what exactly were you talking about. Well, common sense would deduce that you were talking about fouling a white individual and getting ejected for fouling that white individual. Now, as I said on social media and I will say in real life, if that is not what you were talking about implying, then that's on me. I will stand down and I will stand corrected. But the last thing I must again reiterate, we live in a speaker-oriented country. Speaker-oriented, receiver-oriented. Speaker-oriented country. It is on you, the speaker, to be clear, to be direct, and to be obvious with what you are speaking about. It is not on the receiver, the reader, or the listener.
From a strictly business standpoint, that is the biggest concern here. Leaving aside any debate over who was right or wrong about the plays themselves, analysts have pointed out that endorsement deals ultimately depend on one simple question. Does the average customer want to see this person promoting a brand they buy from the store? You earn the opportunity because of your ability on the court. But once the cameras are focused on something other than a highlight reel, it is likability and public trust that keep the contract going. Right now, depending on how this week has unfolded, that trust appears uncertain. And when trust starts to weaken, that is exactly when a brand may quietly begin looking for someone else. Officially, the current arrangement remains in place, but that brings us back to Sophie Cunningham and why her name, more than anyone else on the roster, is being discussed as a possible replacement. Because athletes in this sport usually do not represent competing shoe brands at the same time, Cunningham's existing signature role with Adidas would normally make her an unlikely candidate for a Reebok deal. Reebok, though, is reportedly willing to get creative. The company is considering a plan that could let Cunningham continue wearing her Adidas shoe while still finding a way to bring her into the Reebok family. It feels almost like a direct attempt to make peace with fans who have been asking the company to change for quite some time. That unusual arrangement shows just how urgently Reebok wants to repair its image right now, quickly and publicly, before even more customers decide to leave for good.
Sid Coulson is saying this, and I know it's a joke. Love a trans foul. This is essentially celebrating a player getting clobbered. You are on TV. You are. Not these other people online. You are. You were on TV and basically saying Caitlin Clark was soft for taking a fist to the neck from Alyssa Thomas. You are. You got opportunities because of this organization. You got opportunities because of the like Caitlin Clark brought on your head. You did. You benefited from it. You joined the Indiana Fever for those benefits. You took those benefits. You became more notorious. And as soon as you leave, you rejoin the sisterhood, then it's against Caitlin Clark. And you are celebrating a player getting taken.
Think about how unusual that really is. According to reports, a company is willing to share attention with a competing shoe brand just to bring in an athlete who represents the opposite of what is currently causing them problems. This isn't some small or casual decision. It's a company quietly admitting, without actually saying it in a public statement, that keeping its current athlete has become more damaging than giving up some exclusivity. A company's internal numbers are often much worse than anything it would ever reveal to reporters or shareholders when it starts breaking its own usual procedures simply to rebuild customer trust. And for Carrington, the timing could hardly have been worse. She wasn't simply making a risky move in a small deal. Endorsement contracts usually include specific clauses for situations like this, including behavior, public image, and anything that could bring embarrassment to the brand connected to your name. In just 1 week, There were 3 careless fouls and an offensive comment directed at a teammate. That's exactly the kind of situation those clauses were designed to address. Music, Reebok is far from the only company watching closely. Other brands pay attention to stories like these as well, because no company wants to become the next one forced to explain to irate customers why its athlete is still receiving checks after a week like this. And when that kind of reaction spreads, an athlete can end up risking more than one endorsement deal without even realizing it.
I mean, look, it was a hard foul. I don't think that DiJonai intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did, but it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But, you know, one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck.
The fact that none of this needed to happen in the way it did is what makes it even more painful. In basketball, fouls happen every single night, and most of them are forgotten by the following morning. None of this would have become a serious enough problem to threaten a real money shoe deal if Carrington had committed one hard foul and then dealt with the aftermath calmly. It was the combination that caused the damage. A response that came slightly too late to change the internet narrative that had already formed days earlier. 3 events happening one after another, followed by a loaded comment at exactly the worst possible moment. It takes much more than a polite statement to reporters after the damage is already done for fans to move past the idea that someone is difficult to promote. On top of that, the timing itself does not seem to be getting enough attention. All of this happened during a part of the season when every game is being recorded, while highlight accounts are actively looking for controversial moments they can capture and repost within minutes. Before the night had even ended, a questionable foul that might have gone unnoticed during an ordinary midseason game in a quiet arena was suddenly being pushed across every platform and replayed from 6 different angles by 6 separate accounts. That kind of visibility works both ways. It can quickly turn a good moment into a viral highlight. But it can just as quickly turn one bad decision into a week-long news story that a company can no longer afford to be connected to.
Have one of your players who commits a clear flagrant 2 and then tweets white privilege right after she goes to the locker room. You can't then cry that this is being talked about in racial terms in a culture. She started that. This is a basketball play. The second you go white privilege, and they are talking about it on these telecasts without mentioning what she tweeted. Oh, they're turning into a culture war, turning into a race war. This is our league. Don't let conservatives or the right hijack it. Your player tweeted white privilege, and it had nothing.
While everyone around her appears focused on discussing everything except basketball, Cunningham continues to perform under pressure, take contact without making excuses, and allow her performance to speak for itself. Right now, the public image seems to support her side of the situation, whether or not the Reebok issue actually develops the way the rumors suggest. Moments like this are exactly what brands often watch closely when deciding which athletes deserve attention in the coming season and beyond. So, what does this mean for DiJonai Carrington? At the moment, she is left in an uncertain position, watching a deal she probably believed was secure suddenly turn into a major question mark. And all of this comes from decisions made during a difficult week and across a few games. Whether Reebok really moves forward with cutting ties, or whether this becomes enough based on what is happening right now, one thing seems quite clear. A lot of people are unhappy with what they have seen from her over the past when the season comes to an end.